My name is Bill Watkins, and I'm pleased to be with you today to talk about the things that were of critical importance in my becoming a successful business executive. As I reflect upon my career, there were 5 things that I believe were of critical importance in my success, and they're shown on this chart. The first item is being willing to listen to and act upon well-meaning advice. The second was getting up when I was knocked down and changing course as required. The third was going an extra mile in equipping myself for the future. The fourth was remaining open to new opportunities. And the last is paying it forward. My father was a chef at a restaurant in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. And when I was a teenager, your age, he brought me into the business because he felt that a man needed a trade. I started as a dishwasher in the restaurant shortly after I graduated from high school. And my goal was to become a chef, just like my dad. I enjoyed working with my father, and in the evenings, after the dinner crowd had left, he and I would sit in the rear of the restaurant on soda crates, and he would share with me the things that he felt were important for my knowledge. I learned that he was the grandson of a slave and destined to become a farmer, just like his dad. But he wanted to break out of that, and therefore when he was my age, he journeyed to Palm Beach, Florida, and worked in one of the large restaurants and hotels, starting as a dishwasher and working himself up to become a cook. Once he learned that trade, he returned to where he grew up, which was Monroe, North Carolina, married my wife, and they migrated north to New Jersey, where he began to raise a family. He became a very successful chef, and I admired how he was king of the kitchen where he worked. I enjoyed every aspect of being a chef, but the area that I particularly enjoyed was buying food and menu preparation, and those things that were associated with bringing about the profitability of the restaurant. The bookkeeper noticed that I enjoyed that aspect of the business. And she said, there's a school in New York, and it's called Pace College, that teaches accounting. You might consider taking a few accounting courses, and then you could help me with my side of this business. I decided to follow her advice. And the following Thursday, on my day off, I went down to Pace College and told the receptionist about the conversation I had had with the bookkeeper. The receptionist explained that I would have to fill out an application and take a test. And I took the test. And shortly thereafter, I found myself in the office of the admissions director. And he explained that I had done really, really well on the exam. And they wanted me to enroll in PACE full-time in the fall. My head was spinning when I left PACE that day because I knew that this was my first opportunity to earn a paycheck working as a chef with my dad. And how could I break away from that and begin college? I decided to talk to my parents about the opportunity that surfaced. And when talking with my mother, she shared with me her faith in a very deep and meaningful way. She said that each of us is on this earth for a purpose, and God has a way of guiding us to what He would have us be. He not only guides us, but He actually sends angels in our lives to help that take place. And she indicated that Mrs. Goldstein, who was the bookkeeper at the restaurant, was probably one of those angels that would appear throughout my life to guide me to what God would have me be and do. And after that conversation, I decided to enroll in PACE, and I did. 4 years later, I graduated from PACE at the top of my class with a major in accounting. And had I not only listened to but acted upon the advice of that bookkeeper, the life that I'm about to describe to you would have been entirely different. Moving on to the second point, which is when you get knocked down, getting up. When I graduated from PACE, my goal was to become a certified public accountant and hang my shingle out on Main Street in Englewood, New Jersey, where I grew up, and run a successful accounting practice there. But in order to become a CPA back in the 1950s and today, you had to have 3 years of experience with a public accounting firm in addition to passing a 4-part examination. Back in the 1950s, much to my chagrin, I learned that public accounting firms were not hiring blacks because they felt that their clients would not tolerate having a person of color auditing their books and records. I was really knocked down by that. However, the placement officer indicated that there was a large company in New York named Con Edison that was looking for a few bright college students to work with their personnel in exploring a new technology. And the new technology was called computers. The placement officer said, I don't know anything about this computer business, but this is a big company and you should talk to them. Sure enough, I did go to Con Edison and interviewed with them and entered their cadet training program. Con Edison's cadet training program was a 2-year program where each cadet was assigned to one area of the business and then rotated it throughout the company so that they might learn all aspects of the electric utility industry. I was assigned to what was called the Development Bureau, and our initial undertaking was to choose between 2 giant computers, one made by Remington Rand's UNIVAC and the other by IBM, which stands for International Business Machines. We ultimately decided to go with International Business Machines, and I worked with a team in automating the customer accounting operations of Con Edison. Customer accounting entailed reading meters for 3 million customers, calculating their bills, mailing those bills out to customers, and then following up with collection activity. I had supervisory responsibility for that aspect of the project, and 7 years later, we had successfully implemented not only the customer accounting operations, but we had extended it to payroll, inventory control, and many other areas of the business. I was very surprised one day to get a call from an executive search firm who indicated that there was a large company in New York that was interested in individuals like myself who had successfully implemented large-scale computer systems. They were also struck by the fact that I had acquired an MBA degree from New York University. While I worked at Con Edison during the day, even though my wife and I were raising 3 children, I went to school at night at New York University to earn that MBA degree. One of my instructors there was named Peter Drucker, and he was very instrumental in bringing me to a point where I understood how best to implement that customer accounting system at Con Edison. Volkswagen was impressed not only with the experience that I had, but also the fact that I had gone that extra mile in equipping myself for the future by acquiring that MBA degree. In implementing the system at Volkswagen, the concept that we had in mind was in each dealer, Volkswagen dealer in this country, preparing their source documents with automatic typewriters that produce paper tape as a byproduct. That paper tape, at the end of the day, was transmitted to the distributors throughout the country who had large computers. Those computers, in turn, prepared complete accounting records for the dealers and also inventory information so that the inventory of the cars they sold, the parts they used, could be replenished. We successfully implemented that system across the United States. One of the things I noticed, though, in the 7 years that I was with Volkswagen, that when an opening occurred at the position immediately above me, that spot was filled by someone from Germany. It caused me to become concerned about my future, and therefore I was quite open when another executive search firm entered my life. They indicated that there was a company in New England that was interested in filling a senior management position with a person with my technical background. That company turned out to be New England Electric System. I decided to interview with New England Electric, and they were very struck by my background, because by this time I had not only had the training I had in the electric utility industry at Con Edison, but I also had successfully managed large-scale computer operations for Volkswagen of America. They brought me on board as vice president and director of administration for New England Electric System, which provided electricity to all of New England. I spent the remaining 25 years of my career with New England Electric, filling successfully higher positions with them. I became, later on, vice president of human resources for the company, and then my final assignment with them was as executive vice president of their Rhode Island operations with responsibility for overseeing all of the operations of that electric utility in the state of Rhode Island. In that last assignment, I had an opportunity to do what I call pay it forward. Paying it forward is where you repay an act of kindness not only to the individual who is kind to you, but you pass it on to someone else in acknowledgement and recognition of the kindnesses that you received. Throughout the career that I've described to you, a number of people were very instrumental in my having the opportunities that I've described to you. And I've tried throughout my career to try to pass it forward to others. When I became executive vice president of the electric company in Rhode Island, for example, we were going to build and did build a plant that cost $500 million. And I realized that if we were going to spend that kind of money in the state, it was a wonderful time and opportunity to build the capacity of people of color in that state by making sure that they got jobs in the construction trade, and that contractors in the state had the opportunity to not only bid upon, but to receive contracts as part of that large undertaking. That's an example of the kind of thing that one can do to pass it on to others. When I retired from the electric company, I came here to Sarasota. And here in Sarasota, I became part of the Boulé, which is sponsoring the internship program that this video is a part of where we're trying to work with and help young people just like yourself. And this is a way that the archons or the members of our Boulé are trying to pass it forward. One of our members in his writings sums up the concept extremely well in his writings, and I'm going to read you a quote from his writings, and his name is Vernon Jordan. He wrote, "You are where you are today because you stand on somebody's shoulders. And wherever you're heading, you can't get there by yourself. If you stand on the shoulders of others, you have the reciprocal responsibility to live your life so that others may stand on your shoulders. It's the quid pro quo of life. We exist temporarily through what we take, but we live forever through what we give." Thank you for having me with you today.